Hey guys, this is Matt with Comics Gaming and welcome to another SourceMod tutorial. So today we're gonna finally cover MySQL. For those of you who don't know, MySQL is basically a database server, and you can store information like remotely, not only on your PC but on a local / remote MySQL server. So it's very useful. In fact, that's how that's how I created the stat system and the permanent band system for Comax, the roleplay server that I host. So, without any further ado, we're gonna start coding. So in this lesson, what I'm gonna actually create is the perm band system. So yeah. A perm band or a VIP? Yeah, I'm actually gonna go for perm band, or yeah, a band system with a remote connection, we can call it. So first of all, I'm gonna pause the tutorial for a second. Okay guys, so I don't know if you do know about this, but to host a MySQL server, you actually have to have a MySQL server. So in this case, I'm using WAMP, the program WAMP, to actually host this database, which is called SQL Tut. Now we're gonna create a table. Sorry, this is in Spanish, so I'm gonna actually translate stuff. So here it says name and number of columns. So in the name, we're gonna actually say band list. We're gonna call it band list, and then we're gonna how many number of columns do we want? Let's see. We're gonna have the name. We're gonna have the Steam ID of the client. Maybe the time when they were banned, and the admin. So that's gonna be 4. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so here says the name of the key. In this case, I'm gonna call it name, time, admin, and Steam ID. Oops. Like that. So the name is gonna be a varchar, because they can have different kind of values. The length, we're actually gonna have a 32 length for this one, and nothing else. So the time is actually gonna be a also varchar. This is gonna be 10. Actually, no, let's make it 20. Then we're gonna have the admin. Actually, it's gonna be at varchar 32, because we're gonna have the name of the admin, and the Steam ID is gonna be a varchar 32 as well. Excuse me. Okay, so none of these are gonna have anything. You can add a comment here to say, okay, this is gonna be the name of the player that has been banned, blah blah blah, and so on. So we're gonna save this, and okay, it's gonna say that in ban list. Now we're gonna have this values to save / store. So if we go back here, okay, so in here we're gonna actually do all the MySQL stuff that's gonna be connecting with that server that we just created, the table and the database. Okay, so we wanna unplug and start. What I like to do is actually create the connection. So we're gonna make a global handle here, new handle. We're gonna call it DB for database. Whoops, DB for database. And we're gonna like leave it as default. Actually, no, we're gonna set it to invalid handle. And then unplug and start. We're actually gonna assign this handle that we created globally to a value, which is gonna be the connection. So we're gonna say dv equals MySQL connect, and it's not popping up because it's SQL connect. So there's also another function called SQL connect custom that I'm gonna explain it in in a, I don't know if this tutorial or the next one. I'm not sure. Okay, so now it says conf name configuration. We're gonna set this to actually ban system. For now, I'm gonna explain this in a second. It says true to reuse the previous persistent connection if possible, false otherwise. So true, it's gonna actually set it to a persistent connection. Okay, so what this means is, like, how can I explain this? Once we connect, we're gonna be able to reuse the connection. So I normally set this to false, but we're gonna set this to true here because we do want to reuse the connection. Now the error buffer is gonna be error, and the max length is gonna be size of error. So we're gonna close this, and we will actually want to create a new string. Should I make it global now? New string error. I'm forgetting the code today, I don't know why. And we're actually gonna set the length of error to actually something like, I don't know, let's set to 70, because we're gonna, this is gonna include the MySQL error as well. So okay, you're saying, okay, what's ban system? So if we actually go here to my configs folder, like the configs of the server itself, you're gonna find a file called databases. Now if we open this, as you can see, you're gonna find some like, you're not gonna have all these configurations, you're gonna have the default one. So what we're gonna do is actually copy this one and paste it, and then we're gonna name it the way we named this one. So it's gonna be ban system, the driver is gonna be default, the host is gonna be localhost for me, the host is gonna be the IP of the server, like where where MySQL is hosted, right? Now the database is gonna be the database name, so we're gonna check that one, and we call it SQL toot. So SQL toot. Again, this is localhost for me because I'm hosting the MySQL server from my computer for this tutorial. And then the user is gonna be I believe nothing. Actually, wait a minute. Okay guys, sorry for that. I had to create a user for my MySQL database. So the user I created is gonna be called Comex Gaming. Now if you're hosting this on a hosted server, like a host that's provided by someone, then you might have to ask your host what's your username and the password if you don't know it. And the password is gonna be CMX. Okay, so let's save this file, and that's how you set the configuration. Again, in the databases.cfg inside your configs folder. So, name, driver, default, the localhost is going to be the IP, database, the user, bam, and the password is going to be the password. Okay, great. So back in the tutorial, or the name of the file, we're gonna actually, like, we established the connection, but we want to check if we actually did establish it. So we want to say if the database equals equals invalid handle. This means, okay, if the connection was not successful, if we failed, then we want to actually warn, like we want to print to server, and we want to say cannot connect to my SQL server, and then we want to say error, like we want to print the error for this. Else, this means if the connection was actually successful, they want to print to the server as well. And I want to say connection successful, like that. I don't know. anything like that. And we're actually not gonna close this handle since we're gonna use it like for other connections. Well, not connections, for the queries and all that stuff. So yeah. Now if we had an error, then we're gonna close it. We're gonna close the handle database. And yeah. Okay, so now that we have all this, I wanna reg admin cmd, and I'm gonna call this SQL ban. Okay, command ban p. We're gonna set the flag to, I don't know, ADM flag slay, and no description at all. Okay, so basically this is gonna be the ban command. Okay, so we wanna say public action command ban p client args, and in here we're gonna do all the stuff that is actually gonna like do the ban itself. Okay, so first of all we're gonna have two parameters. So if args is less than 1, we're gonna have two arguments. The first one is gonna be SourceMod ban. The first one is gonna be the name, and the other one is gonna be the reason, like why are you actually banning this player? And I forgot to add that, so we're actually gonna do a change to the MySQL database later. So if args is less than 1, then what we want to do is actually print, like, reply to command to the client, and we want to say, okay dude, enter a name. I want to return plugin handled. Same thing for arg2. Now we all understand this is gonna be the player name that you want to ban, right? And then that's gonna be the reason. So new string arg1 32 and string arg2. That's gonna have it 40. Okay, so that's gonna handle both arguments. Now we're gonna say get command arg, no, get cmd arg1 and 32. Same thing for the argument 2, but we're gonna change this to 40 since the value here is 40, right? Okay, so once we have both arguments, what we're actually gonna do is create the target finder to actually find our target. So new target equals find target. I believe I've already explained this. So yeah. So we're gonna do client and then the target. So the target, we're actually gonna say arg1 because that's the name of the target, or the part of the name. And then we're actually gonna leave that to default. Then we want to check if the target does not equal -1. Actually we're gonna set it to equals so we can throw an error. We want to say reply to command client cannot target player. Simple as that. So basically what we're saying, okay, if the target is actually equals -1, it's because this function returned -1. That means that there was an error somewhere. So the next thing we want to do is actually, we have all the name and all that stuff. We want to get information from the player. So new string, we're gonna say name 32 Steam ID, which is gonna be 32 as well, and What else? Anything else, I believe. No, not for now. Okay, so get client name to get the name of the client. Client name 32. All stuff like we've covered before. Get client auth out. Oh my god. Client Steam ID 32. So what we're saying is, okay, get the Steam ID and get the name of the client. Once we have the Steam ID and the name of the client, we want to say, okay, so we have all the information. So we have to start with the connection right now, right? To do so, we're gonna actually use the query. Since we made DB global, it means that we're gonna use the connection we established when we start the plugin always. So that's never gonna end unless we tell it to end it, which is gonna be when the plugin actually ends, like when you change the map or actually close the server itself, blah blah blah. So we're gonna say, okay, to send like a request to the MySQL server, you actually do a query. What the query contains is actually the information. So we're gonna say new string, and we're actually gonna call it query, and we're gonna actually give it, I don't know, 150. I think that's gonna be enough. Actually, just in case, 200, because it's gonna contain the name and all that stuff, so it might turn into an index out of bound exception or error, whatever. So we want to say also want to declare a new handle. It's gonna be the query invalid handle, as always. And after we do this, we actually want to format the query. Give me a second, guys. Okay, guys, sorry, I was being messaged. Okay, so we want to format. Format is actually gonna like put a lot of strings and values into one string. Like we're compressing every data we have that we got into one only string. So query, comma, 200 was the size, I believe. And here we're gonna format, actually hate that, the command for MySQL. So this is gonna be MySQL syntax. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but I'm gonna explain a bit. So we actually wanna, when we're gonna band them, we want to actually like insert something. Like we wanna put the values into the MySQL. That's called insert. MySQL. That's the syntax, insert. Now it's called insert into, and then we're gonna say the database name, or the table name, which is band list, and then all the values. So we want to put the name, the Steam ID, the reason, and I believe time. Let me check. Name, time, admin, and yeah, admin and time. I know we haven't set reason here, but we're gonna do that later. So yeah. Then you want to type values like that, and then open the parentheses again. So for the values, you want to write stuff like this in single quotation marks. Also for the Steam ID, when you're writing strings, you always want to use this. It's gonna be like very useful, because if the string actually had a space, it's gonna actually throw an error, and that's not cool. And since we're all using strings for everything, yeah. Comma, and here we're actually going to type name. The Steam ID is going to be Steam ID. The reason is going to be the argument to the admin. It's going to be admin name. haven't created that yet. Actually, wait a minute. Yeah. Jeez. Give me a second. We're gonna create it right now. Whoa. What the? Okay, admin name, and here we wanna say target and the name. Why? Because the client here is gonna be the one that actually runs the command. So this is gonna be the name of the client, which means the admin, and the target is gonna be our target, so the client that we wanna ban, and that's gonna be in the name. Also, change this to target, please. There we go. And yeah. Now the name, the Steam ID, the argument 2, which is gonna be the reason here. As you can see, if args is less than 2, then please enter a reason. And then the admin name. So that's that all. Oh, and the time. So we're gonna use time there. Okay, guys. So I don't want to like get this like to be too long. So I'm gonna cut this one here. I'm gonna record another part like sometime around this week. It's not gonna be like 1 week like before. I'm actually gonna upload different parts this week. So I believe it's gonna be like a 2 or 3 part tutorial. So please rate the video up. I'm trying to explain this the best way I can and take my time, because this is not easy at all. So please rate it up, please subscribe, please leave a comment below if you liked it. Tell me like a recommendation for something you don't like. So again, guys, thanks, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.